Victims of last week's crash between a taxi and a truck are being laid to rest today in Limpopo. The mass funeral service is underway. 16 people were killed on the R579 in Groblersdal. The taxi was allegedly attempting to overtake when it collided head-on with the truck. Our reporter, Moloko Moloto, is following the story and joins me now. Good morning to you, Moloko. As I was listening to you, at least the background situation off air, I was hearing, some singing that was happening at the moment. Just what has been said so far from what we gather at this funeral?
Hello, Morena. Well, the funeral started just a few minutes ago. It is a mass funeral, I must indicate, as my colleague is possibly showing you the number of coffins. I've counted about 7 of them. In total, we know that 16 people perished on that particular accident on last 2 weeks ago. It was on a Friday. And majority of those who are being buried here today, of the 7, are young people. I have seen one who was born sometime in 2016. And according to the statement that was issued by the provincial government, about 7 of those, the young people or the school children who perished on that day, were pupils at Dynamic Primary School here in Groblersdal. And 2 of those were in grade R. The funeral is attended by the mourners coming from the various areas here in Groblersdal, and the provincial government represented by the acting premier and some members of parliament and the executive council. Thabang Makwetla, for instance, the deputy minister of military veterans. But you would recall that when this accident happened, according to a report by the police, 3 minibus taxis were traveling in one direction, and one of them tried to overtake another minibus taxi. Unfortunately, there was a truck that was coming from the opposite direction, and they collided, and several people there were injured. In total, 16 of them perished on that fateful day. I'm just going to ask my colleague Teddy so that we can introduce the Mr. Stemmer Monareng from the local taxi association. So thank you so much for your time. As the taxi industry, you are responsible for ferrying millions of South Africans almost every day. Taxis are the cheapest mode of transport. Yet we continue to see your taxis being involved in such accidents, and in this case it would appear that somebody was negligent. What have you established?
Now, we are learning day by day about these accidents that are happening, and like I said on my speech, that we are condemning it with all costs, and we are going back to do introspection about all this, and we are also awaiting for the SAPS report, which is the South African Police Service, to give us the report specifically of what has happened and everything. And we are confirming that, of course, action will be taken because we are condemning this. We need to save our community alive, because without them being alive, we have no business. They are our source of income. We need to respect them, and we need to serve them as they deserve.
Absolutely. There were suggestions made that perhaps it's about time that you introduce some competency tests for people who are responsible for driving the taxis, transporting people. Are you amenable? Are you open to such suggestions?
Yeah. No, it's not just open. Already, as I'm the coordinator of Topeka, which is the national coordinator, I've already established this process, which is it will kickstart soon. We have joint ventures with TITA and everybody. We are going to train our drivers. We are going to introduce the system that if the driver doesn't have that certificate, will not be allowed to hire it anywhere. So we are busy getting that to a resolution. So once you have that to a resolution, and then we will avoid this at all costs. Like I'm saying, we also need other mode of transport also to helping in hand here, because it's not only one vehicle that will collide with another. It will be the second or the third vehicle which will be involved in that accident. So we need to work together. Yes.
Yeah. One of your colleagues, as he was speaking from the podium, they indicated that on Wednesday there's going to be a meeting of all the scholar transport people who are transporting children from home to schools. Do you have any idea what you are going to talk about?
Yes, definitely. We have an idea because we have called them. In fact, we have started this meeting. Yesterday I was in Gauteng with other scholar transport. We have started this because of we need to put this in everyone's minds that these kids are very important. We need to come with a solution of how do we monitor them specifically in terms of transporting these kids, and are they fit enough to transport these kids? So we need to monitor those things. Yes, we are monitoring our cars in terms of roadways and everything, but now we need to get deep into the personnels that are affecting these kids.
Yeah. Let's talk about the conditions of the roads, specifically where this accident happened. Are you happy with the condition of that road? We had the Premier of the province, then Matabata, saying it's not a bad road and you cannot really blame the conditions of the road for this particular accident. Do you agree with him, having assessed the condition of that road?
No, I disagree with him. I traveled from Pretoria this morning. On my way here, I had too many cars with the potholes, punctures and everything. And at the edge of the road, there's no way you can run away for assistance or for avoid the collision, because where you are running, you're going to end up back on the road because of the pothole. It's going to hit you back to the road. So the roads, yes, needs to be fixed. As much as we are going to fight or try to prepare our drivers, test their readiness and everything, but the roads as well needs to be prepared. We need to work together with government to assist us. We shouldn't put blame to one another, but we are saying the roads are very bad, very, very bad. The roads are very bad.
Mr. Stemmer Monareng, thank you so much for your time. Morena, I'm not too sure if you still have time. I want to bring in the MEC for Education. Her name is Mabunguliro Ramakanya. Ma'am, thank you so much for your time. Maybe let's talk about particularly the children, the school children who perished here. Can you confirm the numbers? Are they all coming from the same school?
Yes, on the accident we lost 7 children. They are all from the same school. It's our independent school here.
And what is the condition of those who survived this accident, those who were injured? How many were they, particularly the school children?
I think for now the numbers we cannot confirm entirely, but you'll remember that we had 3 that were admitted and they've since been released. But we want to say to the families our deepest condolences, really. Our happy feet, like we said, we have expected them to grow. And also you'll know that the primary school that we lost our children is one of our feeder secondary school that performed very, very well. They were second in the province in terms of being independent schools, in terms of the grade 12 results. So they have really mastered to start how to channel and model their children from primary school. And I'm sure when the parents put their children in that taxi, it was on the quest of saying our happy feets will in the future be something for us as Limpopo.
Yeah, let's talk about the issue of scholar transport. There's a meeting on Wednesday. The gentleman has just said from the podium, but are you happy as the provincial government about the whole system around the scholar transport?
You know, one can never be satisfied, because you'll know that when we do the policies on how we screen the scholar transport, you can be perfect. But when the driver gets on the road, it's a different story altogether. And I think one of the things that I should be able to say as provincial government is that we really want to make a call, like we said, to the taxi industry, to the transport industry holistically, to say what we have always put on paper and on our discussion, we both have to deal with that. We both have to make sure that we adhere. Because if we talk about professionalizing our own transport industry, it means that we should be able then to limit the breaking of the law, not, observing on the 10, are you seeing where you are going? Are you able to then adhere to the speed is what is critical.
Is there a way, MEC, that you can collaborate particularly with the taxi industry to say, you are transporting our children, perhaps let's collaborate in terms of improving road safety?
Yes, there is. We will then want them to start by saying, screening the drivers that drives the school children, what will be critical. And I think from the transport, they can be able to do that. From our side, we can also be able to protect the learner. Remember, before, you'll even have a taxi that is more people, but we have been able to deal with that with the law enforcement when they do roadblocks in the morning. It's specifically to make sure that the scholar transport are adhering to the rules. And I think we just need to strengthen that type of relationship.
Thank you so much. Education MEC Mabungu Lerule Ramakanya, representing the provincial government of Limpopo. Of course, we understand that the Premier as well has delegated MEC of Treasury, Seaparo Sekwati, who's going to be delivering message of support on his behalf to the mourners here. Yes, up to so far, there's only 7 people who are going to be buried today. But my understanding is that some of the families have decided to bury their loved ones during the week, and others are burying them today. But the procession will be taking place at their different households.
Moluko, thank you very much for that. Thank you, of course, as well to your guests from the Taxi Association as well as the MEC. That is Moluko Moloto, of course, as you can see in his picture there, the victims of this terrible, terrible accident being buried today. It's an entire process that is going to be taking much of the morning, as it had only began about 15 or so minutes ago. So it's going to be continuing, and I imagine we're going to be speaking to Moloto, Moluko Moloto a little later on in the day as well, just to give us an update as to what exactly happened. But of course, condolences to the friends and family of those victims, some of them quite young. To be losing their lives in the way that they did, it is quite unfortunate. We can only hope the authorities are able to give the families the answers to the questions they may have.